Quickfill gasoline is made right here in America. United Refining Company, who operates Quickfill, refines its gasoline from North American crude oil in Warren, Pennsylvania. When you buy United Refining Company gasoline at Quickfill, you keep jobs and businesses in America, and you keep American families strong. You don't need to send your money overseas when you buy gasoline. Buy American-made gasoline at Quickfill. Quickfill, driving America.
Looking for amazing finds and incredible deals? Visit Erie City Mission Thrift today. From stylish clothes and shoes to quality furniture and home goods, you'll discover something new each time while changing lives right here in Erie. It's shopping that feels good and does good. Come see us in Erie and Girard. Erie City Mission Thrift. Thrift with a purpose.
Welcome to TalkErie.com's Joel Natale Show, Erie, Pennsylvania's daily podcast. Every day, we tackle the biggest issues that the Erie, PA region faces. Stay informed and involved as we advance the narrative of Erie. Now, here's Joel Natale.
Probably not unlike the Christmas of 1944 in Belgium, the Bastogne region, and the reason why we're even talking about that is because this weekend at the Hagen History Center, the program is History, World War II Comes to Life at the Hagen History Center, and I want to welcome into our studio here let me get this going here before I do my former welcomes. Alrighty, we've got. To my left, we have Mark Squeglia, Adam Macrino, and we've got Roman Straub. Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thanks for having us.
You got it here. All righty. Let's Mark, is this your first time on the air with me?
No, second time.
Okay, second time. Let's welcome Roman. And Roman, we're a family show. We like to hear origin story. Are you local, or did you transplant in around here?
Oh, I was born and raised in Erie. I got my bachelor's in history from Gannon, but I have moved on to graduate school with Westchester University, so I've finally left the nest, I suppose, but I've come back to help out with this event we have going on this weekend.
Terrific. And down in the Philadelphia area, Westchester, yeah?
Yeah, I'm about an hour outside of Philly.
Mm-hmm. Lots of mushrooms. We up here we have the sunflowers, and they have the mushrooms in Westchester, right?
That's right.
I think so.
All right. No, they don't like when I talk about that in Chester County. All right. So, Mark, let's go to you. What are y'all thinking about having a World War II exhibit this weekend?
Well, this all started with one of our other interns who's a German reenactor and came up with the idea of having a reenactment or having reenactors on campus representing a couple of units that were in the Battle of the Bulge. So we kind of built a program based around those reenactors being on campus. And as we discussed earlier, we're going to have a reenactment of the Germans delivering a surrender ultimatum to the 101st Airborne at Bastogne. We're going to have lectures that Roman and I will give, basically covering the entire Battle of the Bulge, but also with a little local flavor. We can identify and talk about Erie veterans that were involved in the battle and give their experiences prior to the battle and post-battle as well. So we do this. I've read about World War II my entire life, and my mother used to criticize me because she thought I was romanticizing war.
Interesting.
And I kind of rebuked that and said, no, I read about it because, number one, I'm interested in it, but I also think we need to remember those guys and gals that served, and many of them gave the ultimate sacrifice. So
I know Hollywood is not real, but if there's one thing that I thought they did well with Band of Brothers is show the absolute terror and sacrifice of those members of the 101st. I mean, whether you're cold to the point that you lose lose digits to having your buddy blow up in the foxhole next to you. I mean, that was real.
Sure, and to Hanks and Spielberg's credit, they involved veterans from Easy Company: Bill Garnier, Don Malarkey, Babe Heffron, Dick Winters, and those guys kind of set the stage as to how things really were. So you're right. Band of Brothers was totally accurate and reflective of what they experienced.
Adam, from your point of view as as someone who runs a museum, talk about the strategic nature and why the Hagen History Center wants to do an event like this.
Well, it's really like the perfect venue. So here we have 3 divisions of reenactors from the American side: the 99th Infantry, the 82nd Airborne, and the 505th Temporary Gentleman Company, Able Company. And then from the Germans, we have the 11th Panzer Division. So we have 2 encampments. Luckily for us, we have a carriage house that sells the tickets.
Yeah.
And we have a venue where we can stick the Americans and a venue where we can stick the Germans. So the Americans will be in the Watson-Curtsey mansion on the first floor. All these reenactors have incredible gear, incredible paraphernalia, incredible replicas, and they will be showcasing all that. So things that we don't have in our collection, they will be supplementing. And then, of course, we asked our archival team to pull out some items. And then over in Wood Morrison, we don't want to give the Germans, too nice of quarters.
Right.
So we got them down in the basement where they will be showcasing their items. And as a kid who kind of grew up learning about World War II, I was, you always got so much information about the Americans. And the things that you didn't hear as much about, of course you heard about the Nazi atrocities.
Right.
But I've been fascinated by their equipment, learning like how the Panzerfaust, the Tank Fist, that was a single-use rocket launcher. They'd fired it once and they'd throw it out. And a lot of it was used by the Volkstag, so kind of like the civilian army. So these are things that like a layperson, not a regular soldier, could use, and that's what's been the most interesting from my perspective, is kind of seeing the German gear.
Yeah. Talk about where these reenactors are coming from. Last summer, we were in Conneaut to go get the turkey, white turkey, right? And I think you were there too, Shady. And there were tons of German reenactors because that's where they reenact the Normandy invasion, right, Roman? So are these some of these local folks that are coming to do all this?
Yeah, a lot of our reenactors are local folks, and it's kind of funny you bring up Conneaut because I was always interested in World War II as a kid, but what really got me really interested in it was my father started bringing me to these D-Day reenactments at Conneaut, and here I am now.
Yeah, I mean, they really go all in. I couldn't believe, one guy had an actual motorcycle, classic German motorcycle,
Well, those same guys will be at the Hagen History Center campus on Saturday, and they're telling me they're bringing a German motorcycle.
Okay.
Possibly also we have the Kubelwagen and an authentic American Jeep. So
seriously, wow,
yeah,
that's cool.
It's going to be nice.
So yeah, we should before the break, let's go ahead and go through the schedule, because you're basically having like a morning session and then you're repeating it in the afternoon. So
exactly, the only people who are staying there 10 to 5 are us fellas,
Right.
So at 10 a.m. doors open. Equipment demonstrations from the Americans and the Germans will be ongoing all day. So you can come and kind of almost think of it like a craft fair.
Okay.
These guys have like a table set up. You go up, you talk to them. And then at 10 a.m., 11:30, and 2:45, Mark and Roman are doing their presentation. It's the same presentation. They're just doing it 3 times.
Okay. I didn't realize you were going to do a third one. A lot of interest, right? I mean,
we had to open it up. And
wow.
sadly, there may be like 4 or 5 seats left. If you're interested, info at hagenhistory.org. The 10 a.m., there may be a few slots left. So send us an email. And then at 1 o'clock, and then again at 4:15, we're going to do the surrender. The Germans approaching the American lines, telling the Americans they need to surrender. They're encircled, and the Americans have a response to that. And then at 4:30, 4:45, we're going to close the event with a reading from Dr. Joe Fott, a veteran. He's going to read off the 24 Erie County veterans who lost their lives during the battle.
During the Battle of the Stone. Wow. The Battle of the Bulge.
Yeah.
24 Erieites.
Yes.
I don't think anybody knows this story, Mark.
Well, 24 that we've researched, and my cousin Doug Squeglia, who's writing the part of the Erie County World War II book, he's researched all 725 of those. The names are on the memorial at 26th and State. Now, in his research, they've added a few names to that memorial because they found a couple more Erie County veterans who perished during the war. But we've identified 24 that were killed from roughly December 15th through the end of January 45. So we, and Adam and I, decided, at the end of the event, we couldn't just really close the doors, shut the lights, and say, "See ya, everybody."
Yeah.
So we decided to have an honor guard and a roll call of all 24 names. And Joe Fott is the absolute perfect person to do that. Retired Army major, very, very involved in veteran affairs locally. Is the president of Warriors to Washington.
Yes.
So we thought that was the way to close the event.
Roman, do you think that there are other communities? You always hear about the communities that really sacrificed for the war, but it seems extreme that Erie would have 24 lost in one battle.
Well, I was actually quite surprised to learn that number. In my research of my presentation with Mark, I've identified a few casualties I'll be speaking about, but not all 24 of them, of course. So I was surprised to learn that the number was much higher than the few I had actually come across.
I mean, that sounds like that would be like a similar number to a large metropolitan area like a Pittsburgh or Cleveland or Philadelphia, that to lose that many in one battle. I mean, again, we're not talking about Normandy. We're not talking about Overlord. We're talking about, one time, one moment in time, right? I mean, it just seems a lot.
Yeah. As the Normandy campaign lasted for months and months and months and months.
Right.
And Battle of the Bulge is really like the second half of December up until like the first half of January, and everything after that's mostly just kind of mopping up and getting the lines back to where they were before the Germans launched their attack. But what was really surprising was you have 720, 50-odd Erieites who lost their lives in the whole war, and 24 people. That's almost quite a significant amount of those men from Erie had perished during that one battle.
One battle. Amazing. Mark, what is it about this particular battle and this, and certainly the war in general that has had such a resurgence in interest? I mean, again, you look at all the interests you're dealing with this one event that you're putting on at the center.
So I think the interest is generated, number one, because there were so many participants in the battle. And I think we're getting to the point where individuals, fathers, grandfathers, uncles, aunts, may have participated.
Oh,
And
that's
those,
definitely true, Mark. I got probably 5 phone calls this week from people who are going to come and visit, and they said their father, their uncle, was in the battle. It's awe-inspiring.
And their ancestors never talked about their experiences. They didn't want to. I mean, they probably were suffering some form of PTSD, which was totally unknown or not labeled at the time.
Shell-shocked or whatever they call it.
Shell-shocked, right, yeah. So I think these people want to know what their fathers, grandfathers, uncles, aunts experienced and want to know more about them. Yeah. Or they want to tell us what they know, which is a nice – I mean, I've lectured for the Jefferson for 12, 13 years now, and that is probably the most gratifying part of giving a lecture is having somebody tell you what they know. Because they're not there just to listen to you.
Right.
They're there because they have some info that they potentially want to share.
What's really hard to reckon with is there are no survivors now.
Right.
That there, in order for you to be 18 at the Battle of the Bulge in 1945, what are you? You're 98, 108. I don't know. I mean,
yeah, I think I just saw that the last survivor of the Arizona, perished or died within the last 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, and of course we're talking about the bombing at Pearl Harbor. It is so true that our parents, our grandparents did not want to talk about it for whatever reason. But towards the end, it started these stories started coming out. Like maybe they did see Saving Private Ryan, and they said, "Yeah, that's right." Like literally, they just affirmed that, or oh, it didn't really go that way, or I was stuck, puking my brains out in the back of the transport. That's how visceral some of these stories aren't they?
Correct.
That's a good point too. Like it took until about the 1990s, the 2000s for film to come along enough to really showcase what it was like. As you were saying, Mark, a lot of times it gets romanticized, and that I can. There are outlier films, in the 50s, 60s, and 70s that kind of showcase some authenticity, but a lot of it was kind of where the Americans were just marching through Europe and defeating everyone, and wasn't until the technology came across where you can really recreate the explosions and the gunfire, none of which will be occurring on our campus.
I was going to say you don't have any ordinances.
Yes, and that's a point that we want to stress heavily. Like this is a reenactment, but not reenacting any sort of battle. So for those of you who are frightened by loud noises, there won't be any blanks being fired during this event. It's literally these divisions showcasing what they have in their personal collection, and then like we were mentioning, the reenactment of the Germans asking the 101st to surrender as they're in Bastogne. So family friendly and safe for everyone walking by on 6th Street.
That's good news. Roman, talk about the concept that, when you think about the commander of the 101st, and again, we're not gonna share. We want people to experience it there, but communications was not great. He was not on the phone with Ike like forever. How these guys were. They were free agents to control their troops in a lot of ways, right?
Well, yeah, especially when Bastogne gets surrounded and you have elements of the 10th Armored with the 101st, and they're under General McAuliffe. Who is he going to talk to? And he's encircled. But when it comes to him declining the German surrender, I won't say how he did it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, well, I think one thing the Germans failed to realize is the 101st Airborne, they're paratroopers. A lot of these guys are Normandy veterans, and the whole job of a paratrooper is you jump behind enemy lines, you have enough stuff on you for a good 3 days before you have to start worrying about it. So for the 101st, being surrounded like that's just part of the job description, really.
Right, yeah. It is fascinating to think that they would be sent in, though. It seemed like, they didn't jump into Bastogne. They had one of those tailgate jumps.
Correct. Yeah. Well, at that time there were no other reserves in the European theater. It was the 101st and the 82nd, and they were in rest camps coming out of Market Garden.
Right.
So they had arrived in eastern France probably towards the end of November. So they spent, 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks in a rest camp, and the next thing you know, they're on 2.5-ton trucks heading for the Ardennes.
All year round, Frontier Home Products and Design has what you need to make your home comfortable and beautiful. Relax on a new timber tech deck designed by Frontier's experts. A new fireplace from Frontier Home Products Fireplace Gallery adds warmth and serenity to any home. Beauty and versatility at Frontier Home Products and Design Center, 4213 Peachtree, 5th next to the Bayfront Highway.
Frontier Home Products and Design Center. Discover a new frontier.
PA contractor number PA039007.
Get paid to drive. Start a new career behind the wheel at the EMTA. If you are looking for a high-paying and rewarding career with full benefits and paid training, stop by or apply online today with the EMTA. Plus, EMTA riders can now enjoy free Wi-Fi on new, clean, and environmentally friendly buses to travel all over Erie County. Visit ridethee.com for more information.
Get on board EMTA. Get on board EMTA. Get on board.
Fascinating conversation with our friends from the Hagen History Center. With me are Mark Squeglia, Adam Macrino, and Roman Straub. Mark and Roman will be doing a presentation about the Battle of the Bulge, and they'll be talking at the second floor conference. Yeah, we needed to put that like in like over a Gannon or something. Adam,
I know,
you needed to like rent one of the halls at Zurn or something like that.
That's the one thing we lack, at the Hagen History Center, a room where we can fit about 150 people.
I was going to say, yeah, you need an assembly room. Maybe Mr. Hagen wants to do that. Anyway, this is super cool. You're having an American encampment, a German encampment, and a neutral zone.
That's right.
Now, the gift shop's going to be there. Did you stock up on any kind of items from the era, or?
Sadly, no. That's one thing I know. One thing that this event has taught me is the younger generations are using the technology of today to bring more authenticity. A lot of the items that the soldiers will have are 3D printed. So
seriously,
yes,
that makes a lot of sense.
And
you could print a Luger, right?
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, and the Panzerfaust I brought on Erie's News Now. The bottom part is made of metal, but the top rocket portion is all 3D printed. We have 3D printed Claymore mines and things like that. Wow. Some of the reenactors will have some items to sell.
Okay.
They basically 3D print items, paint them. So it's like a craft fair for World War II nerds. It's really what it is.
Talk about, like, if you were a younger person, and you know what? I need a book. And now, again, I go to the Stephen Ambrose book. I think I've read it 3 times, right, about Band of Brothers. But what are some of the books you would recommend? Again, you're working on a book, but what are the standards out there? Would you read The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich?
I have. But are you talking about specifically the Battle of the Bulge?
Or World War II in general, America in general? in the war?
If you're talking Battle of the Bulge, John Toland wrote a book. It's called Battle, and it's specifically about the Battle of the Bulge. It's very good. It's very accurate. It doesn't go as deep as some of the other books. I didn't bring my suggested reading list with me.
Right.
But there are books I've read. There's books on Patton that I would recommend. There's books on Eisenhower that I'd recommend. There is a book called 15 Stars, which is about Eisenhower, Marshall, and MacArthur.
The 3 5-star generals.
3 5-star generals. That's extremely good because it talks about each one of them and their careers and their interactions. And it's not totally complimentary to MacArthur and or Eisenhower. Somewhat
Really?
Definitely complimentary to Marshall. It was written by a Penn State professor back in
interesting.
Like 04, 05.
Yeah, they say George Marshall was, a consummate soldier.
He was. And then there's books on the Pacific that you definitely need to read.
We're given a lot of attention to the European theater, but certainly lots of Erie young men and women, right, went to the Pacific and slogged it out in Iwo Jima, slogged it out in Midway, and so on. Unreal when you think about it. That'll be your next project, Adam.
Well, this is our first time with the current staff working with these reenactors, but I think it's just the start of something special.
You mentioned that you tasked your archives people to look. Was the Historical Society really? I mean, again, when you're sitting there in 1949 or 52 as the Erie County Historical Society, are you really paying attention to this thing that was really fresh and raw, or are you archiving stuff? I wonder.
We have so many posters from the day that I think they must have been. The things that were here in Erie, we have a lot of large posters that were printed by General Electric. There's a very frightening one that says, "This could happen here," and it's 2 boots with swastikas on them standing over the plant in Lawrence Park. And we have, probably upwards of 100 of these posters. Then the 3D items started trickling in as the soldiers came home, spoils of war. We have Japanese officer swords. We have several different medals from the German army. It's incredible. But sometimes it takes a while. It'll be taken home, gifted to the son or the daughter, and then after they have it for a while, then it usually comes to us.
Yeah, it might be in a strong box or something, at the bottom of a closet.
Well, and that's one thing that we were just making a point to Margaret and I. Margaret Pett is our director of collections and archives. We don't really go out and purchase things. We only have what the public gives us. So if you're listening and you think like, hey, this thing that, my father or grandmother gave me, it should be preserved. People of Erie should have this. Please get in contact with us. You can call 814-454-1813 and just talk to us.
Obviously, again, lots of interest in this era. It was on my Facebook feed this week where they talked about the Navy giving back Lord Corporation to the Lords, to Mr. Lord. My understanding is that the admiral or the captain that commandeered the plant took Mr. Lord out in his office chair and it kicked him out. I mean, there's a whole that could be a whole triangle series on Erie, on the war, the home front for Erie, right?
So in the Erie County World War II book, Jane Ingold, who's the librarian up at Penn State Barron, and I are writing the industrial section.
Neat.
So not only are we identifying and writing what GE produced, Hammermill, and Lord's during the war, but we've gone through the city directory from 1942-43, identified businesses, industry, and have researched how did they convert from commercial, from butter to guns. What did they make during the war? Did they get subcontracted by Lord's and Talon and some of the other big companies? But Lord gets taken out during the war because the government put price controls.
Right.
And he wouldn't subscribe
he wouldn't
to the price
abide to that.
controls.
Yeah.
Right.
Meanwhile, there's Lord implements on every military aircraft from that era to now.
Correct. Yep.
Think about that. Hammermill built bazooka tubes or something like that?
They built, I think they were paper rocket launchers that they hung on the bottom of the wings of a fighter bomber.
Oh, okay.
They built small wooden assault craft that, if you remember watching A Bridge Too Far.
Okay.
And they are crossing the river.
Yeah.
Robert Redford
is
leading that group, and they're in those small little boats. Hammermill built those.
Jeez.
And they produced a ton of paper, no pun intended, but tons of paper for the military. They also produced
stationary,
or larger sheets.
Okay.
They also produced wooden boxes to ship different items, and then they produced some watertight parcels.
What did GE do?
GE built quite a number of things. They built 75 millimeter artillery pieces.
Wow.
They built the plexiglass nose cones to Lake B-17s and some of the B-25s.
The Super Fortress?
I don't know if they did the B-29s.
Okay, gotcha.
They made a lot of armament.
Wow.
They actually produced an electric tank, but it never
went anywhere.
Never got into mass production.
Wasn't there a story, something about that the Jeep got its start around here? But I thought that was more Youngstown.
I've read varying references to the Jeep being produced by a company and an individual over on East 12th Street.
Seriously?
Yeah, but the Bantam Motor Car Company out of Butler.
Okay, Butler then.
I think did the original design. They responded to the government request for proposal, and the government accepted their design, but Bantam couldn't produce in the
scale.
quantities that the government wanted.
Amazing. Yeah.
So I think there was where Accurite is now, which was Hayes prior to Accurite.
Yes.
I think that's where they might have manufactured.
And of course,
Jeeps during the war.
Like most, aircraft was coming out of the famous Ford plant at Rouge, right?
River Rouge.
And
yep.
I mean, again, there's a lot.
Or Willow Run.
Willow Run is where
yeah.
They're cranking out an aircraft an hour or something like that.
Because Willow Run's now a part of that building is a aircraft museum.
There you go. It's interesting, what's coming out now of what was the inevitability of the USA entering the war. Basically, neither Germany nor Japan thought that we would have the capacity nor the will to conduct the war at the scale that we did. We just basically had unlimited resources.
Correct. I mean,
they couldn't match it.
We outproduced not only our allies, but our enemies combined during the war.
Unreal. And they thought we would just be weak and
that was one of the premises that when Hitler formulated his offensive in 1944, he didn't give much credence to the qualities of the American soldier.
Like thinking that doing this attack, making this bulge, as it were, was going to have our soldiers melt.
Right.
And
right.
What do you think, Roman? I mean, is there any evidence of that kind of thinking? I mean, was there any in your studies? Is there any proof that we just kind of melted or withered under heavy fire or a big attack?
Well, it did happen a little bit during the Battle of the Bulge. The 106th Division, they had 2 regiments surrender, and it was I'm going to quote Mark here, he was telling me this a few days ago, it was the largest U.S. surrender, the largest mass surrender of U.S. troops behind the Philippines campaign in 1941-42. So,
of course, yeah.
Well, you have the 106th Division was like an entire division of fresh 18-year-old conscripts. So, these are a bunch of kids, really. Yeah. They're all 18, 19, yep. But for every 18-year-old who's terrified and surrendering, you have a lot of small unit action from, like, the 28th Division and other units that really did hold up the Germans and prevented them from keeping to their timetable.
Yeah. Well, again, I would imagine that Ike and Marshall and Patton flipped, after something like that,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, again, that's just not how we approach things. But it happens. I mean, if they're cornered, right? Like you mentioned the Bataan Death March. I mean, in the Philippines, what could you do?
There really wasn't much the U.S. could do there. At that point, the American and Filipino forces were running out of food and running short of ammunition.
Yeah.
What kind of happened with the 106th, though, with those 2 regiments surrendering, was they were just overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
There was the real reason the German attack was as successful as it was in the early days was our intelligence was neglecting the possibility that the Germans might try to attack through the Ardennes again, even though they did it in 1870-71 with the Franco-Prussian War. That's how they kicked off the First World War. That's how they kicked off the invasion of France in 1940. I mean, there's an established pattern there.
There's a lot of blood in the Ardennes, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely.
Wow. Well, you guys up for a phone call? Let's grab one real quick. Hi, you're live on Talk Erie with our friends from the Hagen History Center.
Wow, this is right up my alley.
I know.
First of all, I'm over World War II stuff. Number 2, the manufacturing aspect. I got to tell you, what you guys just said, we outproduce the whole world, not just we just outproduce everything. That's given 2 things. It's amazing. Half our guys were over there fighting, right? They weren't even here. And the amount of precision armament equipment we produced with no calculators, no computers. Unbelievable, isn't it?
It's truly unbelievable.
Yeah, it's truly unbelievable. The repeatability and the accuracy. I'm sitting there watching these guns on these ships. I mean, if there was really, truly a God in heaven, I would get to see a 16-inch gunfire once before I die. Especially like 3 at once.
Yeah.
Joel,
crazy.
Joel, I know you're connected. Make it happen.
Okay.
And Adam, I just want to tell you that green desk, that's my favorite thing I own now.
Oh.
This is Phil. Yeah.
Yeah, what's up, Phil? How are you?
Yeah.
I love that desk. In fact, everybody that comes down into my man cave, they're like, "Oh my God, that desk!" So it's been great.
Awesome. Thank you, man.
Really fun.
Appreciate it.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Phil Kerner, good guy.
Yeah, good guy. And again, we're simpatico that way. We're basically you almost can't get enough understanding about the lived experience of these soldiers and of military tactic. I mean, again, I mentioned that my son was active duty. They're still studying these battles. They're still studying these maneuvers and things.
Right. The high ground is always the best position,
right.
And things like that.
Taking out guns. I always think about again back to Band of Brothers in Normandy, taking out those guns there.
Blowing bridges, slowing things up. That was the one thing that surprised me a lot about doing deep dives into the battle. How just these small units slowing down the German army, how much of an impact that had on the whole of the battle.
Right.
And just giving, reinforcements time to get to the front lines, supplies, It's amazing how minutes, seconds matter in these things.
What was there any? I mean, some the old movies or the old narratives were that they were singing Silent Night over the battlefield on Christmas Eve. Is that real, Mark?
I've read different accounts where that did occur.
Okay. Okay.
So I think
there is a little bit of humanity there.
Yeah, there is some accuracy, but those old movies were. I mean, the John Wayne movies were. I mean, we always won. There was never any blood shown in those movies, and they were somewhat romantic.
Yeah.
Then you move to Saving Private Ryan, which the landing on D-Day is probably, I mean, I don't know, I've never been in combat, but it sure as hell sounded accurate.
Yeah.
And I've stood on that beach in Normandy twice now. Actually, I was there for the 80th anniversary, so we stood on that beach at 6:30, 80 years to the day and minute that those troops landed. So
I've had this thought more than once, and again, I don't even know what to do with it. But what is it like for Ike to say, I'm going to throw how many landed? 150,000 or 200,000?
250 that day between British, Canadian, and American.
He's basically throwing a sea of humanity at machine guns and, right, like you say, the upper location of the preferred location where the Germans are, and basically hoping that enough of them survive to overcome.
Well, there's two accounts of Eisenhower. One is when he visits the 101st before they take off on the evening of June 5th. And as they march to their planes, he turns around to walk back to his staff car, and his aide accounts that he had tears in his eyes, because he knows he's sending these guys to potential. I mean, there were estimates that they were going to experience 60 and 70% casualty rate. The other is he writes and he pens himself a note if the invasion failed. He writes a note explaining why it failed, and he basically takes the entire blame. So the weight of command is just tremendously on his shoulders.
Adam, give an invitation for folks to come out.
Please, this Saturday, January 17th, the Battle of the Bulge comes to life at the Hagen History Center. 3 different American regiments of reenactors will be there. 1 division of the Germans will be there. We have the campus segregated by army. We have a neutral zone where you purchase your ticket. For members of the History Center, it is free. If you want to join that day, we have a special room set up where you can get a membership that gets you access to the museum for an entire year, free admission. And then for those of you who don't want to become a member, $8 for adults, $7 for veterans, and $6.50 for students. Now that's a special price because we're still working on our new exhibit building. We're redoing the Frank Lloyd Wright exhibit. In May, we will have a museum within our museum. Don't worry, we're not going to charge you twice. It'll be one cost, but admission will go back up once that's completed. But, it's quite a bargain for your money this Saturday. Come down and see us 10 to 5. Make sure you make it for the 1 p.m. time if you're coming in the morning, or the 4 to about 5 o'clock. We have some special things planned, and you don't want to miss it.
Beautiful. Mark Squeglia, Adam Macrino, Roman Straub, thank you, gentlemen, so much. We'll see you Saturday. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You've been listening to The Joel Natale Show, Erie, Pennsylvania's daily podcast from TalkErie.com. Subscribe to our show on your favorite podcatcher and get involved by emailing joel@TalkErie.com.